Welcome back to my next playthrough series. This time we're continuing on with Aeons and Legacy, a co-op deck building game. Aeons End, one of my favorite games, of course. This time we're going to be doing Chapter 3, In Search of Power. But before we get into it, I have some corrections from the last playthrough from Chapter 2. So I'm just going to readjust the camera and we're going to get into those corrections. Didn't affect the Chapter 2 playthrough at all, but it will have an effect on Chapter 3. So let's get to those corrections. Alright, so what I did in the last series is I played the Hunted card, which said Evolve on it, and then I ended up evolving the Caustic Larva, which means I put a sticker on here. You weren't supposed to do that, so I've removed the sticker from here, so it's only got 2. It's going to go into the basic deck. Level 2 for the Nemesis for this playthrough, so we're going to go ahead and do that. So that's been corrected. We should have played this card. So let's just take a look at it. It says, as the Nameless strikes you, a strange brand appears burned into your skin. Your chest tightens and you can't breathe. You know the Nameless aren't finished with you. Banish Hunted card. So I've done that now. Place card E05 in the Nemesis discard pile. And then the player who suffered damage from the Hunted writes her name on E05. Do not read any more cards in the deck. So basically E05 is this card. It's a basic card, level 2. Now Death Maiden was the one that got marked. So we're going to be shuffling this into the level 2. And it's basically unleashed twice. Death Maiden suffers 3 damage. So I'm going to go ahead and shuffle the level 1, 2, 3 for our Nemesis, and let's go ahead then and take a look at the Nemesis. Well, we're going to be reading the story first, and then we'll be taking a look at the Nemesis. This time, pretty nasty stuff. Alright, so here's Chapter 3 Introduction, In Search of Power. Of course we're playing. So it says, Malistar stops his lecture mid-breath as Zassos steps out of a strange breach, healed and stronger than ever. I can use the Nemesis's breaches to save us all, Zassos announces. Aye. A swift punch from Mist catches Zassos off guard. How dare you return, coward? You're the reason Gravehold was destroyed. She screams as Malistar pulls her away. I can fix this, Zassos scowls. We need more power. We can't keep focusing our little breaches, siphoning slivers of power. Give me another chance. I've learned to tap into the Nameless's breaches. We can use that against them. Then we're going to read the front of card L19. So we're just going to come right back and do that. Alright, so here's the front of card L19. I hope it's all focusing. Chapter 3 Introduction continued. Zassos, finding no support, sulks away. Malistar continues as if nothing happened. We have more important things to do than worry about his tirades. The Nameless are getting stronger every day. You're going to need better equipment. Our scouts have found some sort of breeding ground. I believe the pods produced there can be harvested and used to craft powerful new equipment. Your mission is to defeat the Nameless, harvest the pods, close the breach. Gravehold's survivors need you more than ever. And now it instructs us to open Insight 5 and apply all rulebook stickers to the rulebook. Open playmat labeled 3. So I've done all of that. Basically, to not go into a lot of detail, the Insight 5 has to do with shield tokens. So now there are certain minions, I guess, that show up with shields. Shields can only be knocked down before you do any damage to minions. And there is a when you lose the game section now added, and how to set up the Nemesis deck. So that's just a high-level overview of what the new Insight stickers have done. So now we're going to be reading the back of this card. And once again, hope it's all nicely focused, even if it's off to the side a bit. Alright, Chapter 3 Introduction continued. If you are playing solo, banish blah blah. If you're playing 2-player, which we are, so I've banished cards L20, 21, 22, and 23. And this says, combine any remaining cards numbered 20 to 26 with the basic Nemesis cards you returned to the box after last game. I've done that, and I've set up the entire Nemesis deck. It's ready to go. Then it says, use the basic Nemesis cards and cards labeled Spawning Horror at the bottom to construct the Nemesis deck using the directions provided on page 10 of the rulebook. Did all that. Follow the Spawning Horror setup instructions for information about the Tier 0 Spawning Horror cards. Do not reveal any cards beyond the stop 3 card in the middle of the deck. Did all of that as well. And then we have to fight the spawning horror. Read the front of card L27 after your first game versus the spawning horror. Alright, well let's take a look then at the spawning horror. Okay, this is the back of the spawning horror card for setup. So basically place the breeding chamber card into play with 4 life. The breeding chamber card is this lovely little morsel here, and I'm going to use a big 20-sided die, 4 life. So basically the breeding chamber, this minion can never have less than 1 life. This minion has no maximum life. So there is that. When playing with 4 players, breeding chamber starts with 1. We're playing with 2, so it's going to start with 4 life. Shuffle all the pod cards together. Place them face down. So this is the pod deck. There's 2, 3, 4, 5, so there's 7 different pod cards. These are all, I believe, nasty minion-y things. So let's take a look at the other side of this card to see what it actually does when it unleashes and what have you. So it's got 50 health, so we're going to start him off with 50 health. Gravehold, of course, starts with 30 health. Breeding Chamber gains 3 life for Unleash. Ooh. We're not using the increased difficulty. Additional rules. At the end of the minion, or end of the Nemesis turn, if the Breeding Chamber has 11 or more life, it imbues a pod. So we're going to draw a pod card from the deck, place it into play. Breeding Chamber loses 10 life. Repeat this until Breeding Chamber has 10 or less life. When a pod is discarded, place it in the discard pile. This is not the same as the Nemesis discard pile. And then when the pod deck is empty, shuffle the pod discard pile to form a new pod deck. And when there are 7 pods in play, Spawning Horror completes its metamorphosis and the players lose. So we're going to have to keep the pods under control. Oh boy. Alright, let's take a look at our cards to purchase. Then we're going to take a look at Astria, Death Maiden, and then we're going to get going. Alright, I'm zoomed out here quite a bit so that we can focus on these cards. So this cards that we have, the 9 cards to purchase for this playthrough are going to be the Ancient Kyanolith, costing 3... Kyanolith. Costing 3, gain 2 ether. It's a gem. Next gem we have is the Branching Radite, costing 4, gains 2 ether. If you have 2 or more prep spells, gain an additional ether. This one is the Entangled Shard, costing 4, gain 2 ether. If you have 3 or more charges, gain an additional ether. It's a gem. Then we get into our relics. The Neural Wreath, which I really like, costing 4. Focus any player's breach. Any player may prep a spell in hand. Then we have another relic, the Ethereal Hand. Any ally draws 2 cards, costing 6. Then we have the Fire Shocker, our basic attack spell, costing 2, deal 2 damage. Our next spell is the Force Transfusion, costing 4, cast, deal 3 damage. If you have 3 or more charges, gain 1 charge. Pretty cool. Then we have the Bend It Like Beckham Beam weapon, Bending Beam, costing 5. Cast, deal 2 damage. If the spell was cast from an opened 3 breach, deal 3 additional damage. So I'd remember to put that in breach 3. And costing 5, our final spell, Gravity Node. Cast, any player discards a card in hand. If they do, deal 4 damage. So those are the cards we can purchase. Now let's take a quick look at Astria and Death Maiden, and then we're going to begin our first round of the playthrough for Chapter 3, In Search of New Power. Alright, so a really quick look at Death Maiden. She starts off with the Bug Zapper. We've seen all this from the last playthrough. Crystal, 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 and a spark in her hand. She's got a power-up called Bug Smasher. Activate during your main phase, deal 7 damage to a minion. Starts with 10 health. Breach is set this way. Her discard pile is, or her draw pile, I should say, deck, is basically 4 crystals and a spark. So that's Death Maiden. Let's take a quick look then at Astria. Alright, so a quick look at Astria. 6 charges as well for her special ability, which is Life Well. Activate during main phase. Any player gains 3 life. Very handy. She's got her Life Bringer gem in her hand. She's got a spark, 3 crystals to go along with it. Likewise, 4 crystals, a spark here, and her breaches are set this way. 10 health. We're ready to go. We're ready to take on the Spawning Horror. So we're going to do 1 full turn this episode. That was the introduction and episode. So let's get to starting Chapter 3, In Search of Power. And of course, first thing I do is shuffle the turn order deck so that you know that I'm not cheating and stacking it in my favor. But yeah, Spawning Horror. I'm going to have to shut down the spawning abilities. It's going to be tricky. We're going to have minions coming out, and we're going to have these pod people bursting out as well. Pod monsters or whatever they are. Alright, shuffle the deck enough. Let's see who's going to start Chapter 3. Death Maiden gets the first go. Let's go to Death Maiden's area. Have her take her turn. Alright, it's Death Maiden's turn, and she's got the Bug Zapper, which is deal the damage. If the damage is a minion, deal additional damage. Well, and it's a spell. She's going to go ahead and prep. The Bug Zapper to open breach 1, because you cast spells first, but we've got none prepped, of course, at the very beginning turn. Now the Spark spell, she could focus. I think she's going to focus open breach 3, which means you rotate it once clockwise, which means she then will put the Spark spell in the focused breach. That leaves her 3 crystals for 3 ether, and I think with 3 ether, she's going to go ahead. We're going to try to pump up our ether potential at the start anyway. She's going to go ahead and get Ancient Kyanolith. She's going to put that in her discard pile, and then she's going to discard all the cards she played in any order. Of course, it will be that way, and she'll drop 5 new cards, which is, of course, the rest of the cards. So she'll have a Spark and 4 crystals for her next turn. Alright, back to the turn order deck. Oh yeah, it's going to be fun. I have no idea. Alright, Nemesis. Ooh. Well, this doesn't actually do anything at the moment. It's just if this minion can never have more than 1 life is basically what it says. And, oh, there's something stuck there, a piece of dust. So with a Nemesis going, we are just going to be doing a Nemesis card. There's nothing in play. So basically the first Nemesis turn is going to be this. Daze. Any players, what the? 2 damage? Alright, come on! Any player suffers 2 damage and discards a card in hand. Oh, crap. If that card costs 0, evolve. If you can't place it, oh, for God's sake! Alright, any player suffers 2 damage. Let's have Astria suffer the 2 damage because she's got the best healing potential. And she has to discard a card in hand. And she only has 0s. Oh man. So, oh god, this sucks pretty heavily. Oh man. Well, she'll discard, I guess. Oh, I don't know, a Spark. I think she'll discard a crystal. Man, tough decisions right off the first go. And unfortunately, it says if the card costs 0, ether, evolve. So this card's going to evolve. I'm going to have to put a sticker on it. I'll come right back and do that. Alright, I've got the evolve sticker on there. It can only take 3, and then it says if you can't place an evolve sticker, read E36. But we could place an evolve sticker. We have done the Nemesis card. It's going to go to the Nemesis discard pile. And now, back to turn order. That was not pleasant. And oh my god, Nemesis goes again. Well, once again, the Nemesis has no cards in play, but we are going to be drawing a Nemesis card, which is Creeping Curse. Oh, come on. It's a power card. So we're going to put a 2 on it to discard evolve. What? So we can evolve the cards to get rid of it. But the power is unleash. Any player suffers 2 damage. The players collectively discard 2 cards in hand. Oh, again, that's a nasty decision. We could just decide to evolve the card to get rid of it. Unleash any player. You know, I don't think we're going to. But we're going to put a 2 on here because this has power too. Well, that's it for the Nemesis. The Nemesis is not going the rest of this episode because now we only have players' turns left. Let's see what we have. We have Astria going next. Alright, Astria, let's get to you and see what you want to do. Alright, it's Astria's turn. She has her gem. Gain an ether if you have 3 open breaches. So this is just going to be worth 1 ether. Again, no spells prepped. Won't be casting any. She may as well prep the Spark to open breach 1. Then she's going to have 1, 2, 3 ether. And with 3 ether... with 3 ether, I really want to get her... You know what? With 3 ether, I think she's also going to buy one of these cards, Ancient Canalith, gain 2 ether, just so that we have some more buying potential. That was very quickly her turn. Putting her cards back in the order, we'll do it that way. And then she's going to draw 5 new cards, which is 4 crystals and a spark. Alright, back we go to turn order. Turn order time! Which is not a big deal. It's Death Maiden goes again. Alright, we have Death Maiden going. Let's go over to her area, have her take her turn. Alright, this time Death Maiden does have a couple of spells to cast. The first one I think she's going to cast is Bug Zappa. Bug Zapper spell. Cast, deal 1 damage. If it damages a minion, deal an additional damage. We are going to go ahead and hit. We're going to hit the Breeding Chamber, which has 4 health on it. That's going to knock it down to 2. Because we don't want the Breeding Chamber to be spitting out too many minions. And with the 1 spark, I think we're going to go ahead and cast the 1 spark right at the spawning horror himself, knocking him down to 49 health, which doesn't sound like much of a hit, but I hope that will not be too bad. Now, we could evolve that Creeping Curse card, but you know what? I don't think we're going to bother evolving Creeping Curse. Alright, now she gets to play her card, Spark. Well, prepping the Spark to open Breach 1. She's got 4 ether. We could open this breach with 4 ether. Just get it open. Get ready to buy some spells. Or we can spend 4 ether to buy something. Or we can get 2 charges. Decisions, decisions. I think we're going to go ahead and we're going to spend the 4 ether. We're going to buy a relic for Death Maiden. Death Maiden's going to go ahead and buy the Neural Wreath. Focus any player's breach. Any player may prep a spell in hand. I love this card. This is a good one, so we're going to get that into Death Maiden's hand. Place cards in any order. Well, that's all of them. We're going to flip her deck over. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 new cards for her next hand, which I believe is going to be in the next episode. She's going to have the Bug Zapper and 2, 3, 4. She'll have 5 ether. I like it. That's the end of Death Maiden's turn. Up last, we'll find out who it is. I'm pretty sure it's got to be Astria. Alright, turn order time, and the last card, yes indeed, is Astria. Let's go to Astria, have her take her turn. Alright, Astria now does also have a spell prepped, doing only 1 damage, but we may as well go ahead and smack on the spawning horror again. 48 health, or 49 health down to 48. Alrighty. Alright, and what does Astria have? She's got a Spark spell, which she will prep to open Breach 1, and then she's got 4 ether, very similar to Death Maiden. She could open this, she could focus that. You know what? I think she's gonna go ahead. Oh man, we need some damage though too. You know what she's gonna do? She's gonna go ahead and she's gonna purchase Force Transfusion for 4. Deal 3 damage. If you have 3 or more charges, gain a charge, because that's giving life back to her. She's going to go ahead and get that spell right away. Maybe that's a bad idea. I don't know. Then we're going to put the cards back in the order, which is like that. Flip it over. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cards. For her next turn in the next episode, she'll have her Lifebringer. She'll have Ancient Canalith. So 2, 3. She'll have 4, 5, 6 ether. Wow, 6 ether. Awesome. For her next turn. That's going to be it. Let's zoom out and wrap up our first opening episode for Chapter 3, Aeon's End Legacy. Alright, well that's the opening barrage for In Search of Power. Yeah, I'll shuffle here at the end. I shuffled at the beginning just so everything's on the level. Hope I haven't made any errors. We've got the Nemesis beaten down to 48 health from 50, which is pretty good. We even smoked a little bit on the Breeding Chamber, which is nice. But we do have this Creeping Curse card out, and yeah, things are going to get uglier before they get nicer. We'll see if we can take down the spawning horror. So thanks so much for watching along. Thanks for your comments, subscriptions, likes. This is Aeon's End Legacy. I'm doing chapter 3 now, In Search of Power. I believe there's 7 or 8 chapters in the Legacy version. I'm really quite enjoying it. I hope you are too. So we will see you, hopefully, in the next episode.